Darling in the Franxx. You remember this anime? Exactly. No, you don't. You remember 02, you remember not liking the ending, and that's all you remember. This anime came out in 2018, according to the Chinese calendar, the year of the dog. But according to anime fans, the year of 02. While Darling in the Franxx may have faded away, 02 remains. And it's gonna stay that way, because ain't nobody going back to rewatch this, because the ending sucked. But were we all a little too harsh on it? Now, an ending means nothing without a beginning and a middle. Like, watch this. I'm going to explain to you the end of the Roman Empire. The Visigoths invaded Italy and sacked Rome. See? Means nothing! So I'm going to recap the anime for you. Let's go! Earth in the future is exactly like the Just Stop Oil people predicted. They tried to warn us, but we wouldn't listen! The Just Stop Oil people have mutated themselves into beings called Klaxosaurs. Humanity, or what's left of it, created these mechs called Franxx in order to fight them. No, I don't want to talk about the piloting system. Instead, I want to talk about Papa, the shadow government that controls everything, from where people are allowed to live, all the way down to the thoughts people are allowed to have. It's quite dystopian, and no one mentioned it when this anime first came out. Also, humanity has invented immortality, but if you become immortal, then you lose the ability to reproduce. And the show acts like this is a really big deal, but I think it's just basic biology. Like, when a woman hits 40, she's out of eggs, so she can't reproduce either. So I don't know why they thought immortality would fix this. I'm just saying, it was a bit of an oversight. All the immortals are called adults, and the Franxx pilots are called children, or parasites. But I would say, what's the difference? They spend the first 18 episodes fighting the Klaxosaurs and having a love triangle. Then comes episode 19. This is the beginning of the downfall. It wasn't immediate, as episode 19 was a flashback, which was a very strange change of pace. But, like, it wasn't a deal breaker. Unlike what came next. So, what went wrong? A lot. A lot in the story, and a lot in the real-life production. I'm gonna go through both, starting with the story. Both pacing and foreshadowing went out the window, and by foreshadowing I mean the Chekhov's gun thing. The pacing is the easiest one to explain, so I'll do that first. Episodes 1 to 18 were paced to perfection. Then episode 19 was a flashback, which I've already said was a terrible change of pace. And then the whole thing just collapses in on itself. They go from a huge space battle, yes, they're in space now, then we jump to an episode about farming, then we go back into space, and then we go back to farming. It's enough to give you whiplash! Now, onto the Chekhov's gun thing. For those of you not in the know, Chekhov's gun is a writing thing where if a gun is on the wall in chapter 1, then it has to be fired in chapter 7 or something. Okay, you all got it? Good. In the first 20 or so episodes, they did this so much. Like, just look at this! The core of every Klaxosaur kinda looks like a Franxx pilot. And that's because the Franxx are Klaxosaurs! And the core thing was the Klaxosaur's pilot! Which also leads on to why 02 is such a good Franxx pilot. Because she's a clone of the Klaxosaur princess! So of course she's gonna be good at piloting Klaxosaurs! She is one! Even the beef between these two has its own backstory. Hiro promised Mitsuru something, then Hiro had his mind erased by Papa, so he forgot their promise! Everything had an explanation, and then boom! Space invasion. Nothing ever hinted towards this. No one ever looked up into the sky and went, I wonder if there's life up there. Nope, they're just here now. And this is what ruined Darling in the Franxx for a lot of people. And by a lot of people, I mean all people. But here's where we were all a little too harsh. Now, hear me out. The ending was actually pretty okay. I know, don't hate me. The stuff that happened on Earth in the last few episodes was great. It was a real tearjerker, with the characters finishing their arcs, falling in love, having children, uniting one last time to save Hiro in 02. That half of the ending was great. But holy shit, the stuff in space sucked! If there had been build-up to it, then it could have been great. But that's just the problem. There was no build-up. All of a sudden, the Klaxosaurs are humanity's allies, and they're fighting an entirely new enemy in space. Could you imagine if Star Wars ended like this? Darth Vader is about to kill the Emperor, and then boom! All of a sudden a new enemy appears and the Empire and the Rebels have to team up to stop it. People would hate that! But imagine this. After defeating the Klaxosaurs on Earth, humanity finally has the resources and technology to create space travel. Then they go into space and destroy the Klaxosaur homeworld. See? Look at that! In only 2 sentences, I've created a better ending for Darling in the Franxx than the Darling in the Franxx writers did. If they had just made the Klaxosaur space invaders from the very beginning, then going into space and destroying their homeworld would have been the end goal the entire time. Adding the verm added nothing. Or better yet, just keep the fighting on Earth. They didn't need to go to space! space! Just kill all the Galactosaurs on Earth and end it there. Send them into space for season 2 if you're desperate. I'm being serious though, I was nearly in tears for the stuff on Earth. I don't know if it's because I really like this anime. I mean, I loved it when I first watched it in 2018, and I loved it again in 2023. So maybe that's just me, but please give this anime another try. It's so worth it. Don't get me wrong, even without the space stuff, it could have been better, but please give this anime another chance. And if not for me, then do it for her. Now, onto the production failures. The real reasons why this all fell apart. Reason 1. The anime wasn't based off anything. No manga, no light novel, no notes scribbled on a roll of toilet paper. Nothing! The Darling in the Franxx manga, on the other hand, had the anime to copy off. To an extent, I heard the manga had a different ending, and thank Christ for that. But having the anime based on nothing could have been a good thing, because it was great for the first 18 episodes, and then it all fell apart. And I believe it's all to do with Reason 2. Darling in the Franxx was a collaboration between A1 Pictures, Trigger, and Cloveworks. None of that means anything to me, but I'm sure it means something to some of you. If Darling in the Franxx was made by just one of these three, I bet it would have been better. Like, look at it this way, for instance. You have an idea for a story, and you have the perfect beginning, middle, and end. Then you tell a friend, and they change some of the things about it. Then you tell another friend, and they change even more things about it. The basics of the story are still the same, but all the interesting fleshing out of characters and events has changed. And this is so common with creative things. Adding more people adds more problems. Very similar to relationships. Like when I told my girlfriend I was adding a new girl to our relationship, she got mad, which created loads of new problems. I bet if they added more studios to the creation of Darling in the Franxx, they would have had something like The Flash. And in The Flash, he puts a baby in the flipping microwave! Now, I did offer solutions to the story problems, so I'm also going to add solutions for the production problems. Solution 1. Wait for the manga to finish and then just copy that. Pretty basic, I know. So you can change some stuff in the adaptation if you really want to. But then again, some animes are great for directly copying the manga, like Chainsaw Man, and some animes are also great from deviating from the manga, like Evangelion. My point is, let the manga finish and go from there. Solution 2. Just have one studio make the anime. It could be any of them. I'm sure each of them could do a stellar job. But in my perfect universe, all 3 of them would have made a version of Darling in the Franxx based on the manga. That would have been great. And whoever makes the best version of it gets to make a season 2. Because when all 3 of them worked together, they killed any chance we had at a season 2. Go back and rewatch this anime, give it a second chance and form your own thoughts about it. Unless your thoughts are different from mine, then go back. You're only allowed to think like me. Speaking of things you're thinking about, subscribe! Because if you've made it this far, then you clearly like my videos. And since you like them so much, why don't you like the video after you hit the subscribe thing? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.